Can you see my children? I think I hear my daughter calling out for me, but I can't find her. I have a little girl and a little boy. They are precious to me. Help me find them. This is a wicked place. They treat us like animals. I sleep on this naked floor in chains and handcuffs. They take off our clothes. They want to see our backs. They want to know how obedient we are based on our backs. When they take us out on the block, they want us to sell ourselves. Don't be selling. Praise yourself, or you sure to be stripped and given 30 lashes. Except here, they beat you so as not to leave marks. It's bad for trade. This is a wicked place. Now I can't see my children. I know they're here. I can feel them. I think I can hear them, but I just can't see them. Help me. Help me find my children.
Mama? Have you seen our mother?
while I was tears journey on. I want Jesus to walk with me. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, help me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night,
Good evening.
lead me
Michelle and I
on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me on. When my way grows drear, precious Lord, linger near. When my light is almost gone, at the willow Lord, we stand. Guide my feet, hold my hand, and take my hand. Precious Lord, and lead me home.
Please welcome to the stage your host for the evening, Tony Award-nominated actress and playwright, Ava Duvernay Smith.
Please give another round of applause for Brandy Sutton and Crystal Rucker. What a breathtaking performance. Whew. I'm Ava Duvernay Smith, and it is my honor and privilege to welcome you to this momentous occasion, the opening ceremony for the Equal Justice Initiative's New Legacy Museum, From Enslavement to Mass Incarceration, and the National Memorial for Peace and Justice. The Legacy Museum and Memorial provides a mirror to face some of the ugliness in this country's past. For there's no way we can heal until we first acknowledge and address our wounds. And through the work of the Justice Talks, an opportunity has been provided to spark dialogue, inspire thinking, and present solutions that can become actionable around the direct and different topics of justice, such as mass incarceration, faith, environment, social inequality, and activism in the entertainment industry. Well, I hope you are ready, because we have an incredible night in store for you that includes performances by Sweet Honey and the Rock, B.B. Winans, Ailey 2, and the incomparable Patti LaBelle. We will also be joined by Congressman John Lewis, co-founder of Partners in Health, Dr. Paul Farmer, and the very talented Ava Duvernay. But now, let's hear from someone who has made a tremendous impact in our community and in the world at large, my president, and yours, Barack Obama.
Good evening. Michelle and I wish we could be there with all of you for the opening of this remarkable new memorial and museum, the first national memorial to the victims of lynching and a museum to the agony of slavery. We often create monuments to pass down the tales and triumphs of the giants who led this country in one way or another. Less often do we tell the stories of the countless unknown others who built this nation just as much. That's certainly true when the stories are uncomfortable. So it's fitting that these stories be told on the site of a former slave warehouse. It's fitting that these stories will be told just steps from markets where human beings were torn from their spouse or child, bought and sold, and shipped to places they'd never heard of, where they would exchange the cold weight of shackles for the sting of the field whip. To remember and reflect on our long history of racial violence should make us uncomfortable. The legacy of chattel slavery and the terrors of countryside lynchings, the subjugation of black codes and the humiliation of Jim Crow, segregation as a way to terrorize, oppress, and subjugate, these tragedies are part of our history. And no matter how painful that truth is, it helps us recognize the mistakes we've made so that we don't repeat them. It helps us learn and grow and do better, because we cannot fully address the long shadow of racial disparities, discrimination, and mass incarceration until we understand the historical forces that shaped them. So this memorial and museum mark one more step in an honest accounting of America's history. But it should also give us hope for the future, because what this place also represents is the amazing change that has transformed the South and the entirety of America for the better. It shows that the trajectory of America has inexorably moved forward. It validates the lofty principles of our founding, that through common effort, we, the people, can continually remake this nation to more closely align with our highest ideals. And that should inspire us all toward further progress. No museum or monument alone, of course, will eliminate hatred or diminish discrimination or ensure that justice is always colorblind. That is up to us, and whether we speak out and organize and vote until our values are fully reflected in our laws, our policies, and our communities. But this is a place worthy of reflection, a way station on our common journey to freedom. It's a place where we must bring our children and grandchildren, black and white alike, to learn the full story of ourselves and walk away better for it, mindful that our work is never done and determined to always do better, to bend that arc towards justice. Thank you.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, civil rights legend and Congressman John Lewis.
Good evening. Let me begin by thanking Bryan Stevenson and the Equal Justice for your good and great work. I'm honored to be with you tonight. Many of you know that I grew up not too far from here. I'm a native of Alabama. I was born in Pike County, outside of a little town called Troy. My parents were sharecroppers. They managed to save $300, and a man sold my family 110 acres of land. Our family still owns this land today. So that I can say tonight that it's good to be here. It is good to be home this evening. I'm proud to see each and every one of you, to witness this museum and memorial. This museum will exhibit the work of so many of our favorite artists, and I love the arts. I've said on many occasions that without art, without music of writers, the civil rights movement would have been like a bird without wings. Artists like Sweet Honey and The Rock proved the anthems of the movement. They translated our feelings, our hurt, our pain. They recorded our words and help us to make progress with their paintings. The year before I was born, Billie Holiday recorded a song, Strange Fruits. Throughout my childhood, I had the song on my mind and in my heart. Some of you know what I'm talking about. You know this song. There was a teacher in New York who wrote Strange Fruit after he saw an exhibit about the lynching of 2 African-American men in Marion, Indiana. In 1930, a mob brutally murdered J. Thomas Shipp and Abraham Smith. These young men, like countless others, were denied the right to a trial by a jury. People across our country and around the world saw the picture of this mob attacking, but not a single person was tried for the crime that night. The hate-filled, bloodthirsty mob murdered these individuals. A teenager boy by the name of James Cameron, he managed to escape. The mob found him. They never served 1 year or 1 day for committing this crime that he did not commit. Upon his release, Mr. Cameron committed his life to truth, to justice, and reconciliation. It took the state of Indiana 63 years to pardon Mr. Cameron. To this day, James Cameron is the only known survivor of a lynch. In 1944, a woman that I got to know by the name of Lillian Smith, a white woman from my home state of Georgia, wrote a book. She called it Strange Fruit. It took the intervention of First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt for the United States Postal Service to allow people to mail this book. Strange Fruit told the story of our real life, the horror over the years, I got to know Lillian Smith. She was so passionate, progressive. She was so committed to civil rights. She wanted to do something about the evil. It was so vicious, it made many people sick. People think it was only men. But growing up there, she witnessed so many photographs of men and women hanging from trees. They also killed children. A few months before the Montgomery bus boycott, Emmett Till was murdered for being fresh with a white woman in Mississippi. You see, he was only a few years younger than I was. But I remember to this day the image from those times is still in my head today. His face in that castle shocked the nation and inspired a generation, inspired a movement, a modern-day civil rights movement. Jimmy Lee Jackson was a veteran of the Vietnam War, became a civil rights activist from Marion, Alabama, a short distance from here. His murder inspired us to march from Selma to Montgomery, which led to the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Some people may not know about Sammy Young, Jr. I knew Sammy Young, Jr. Another young veteran was a student at Tuskegee Institute. Sammy joined the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee from Selma to Montgomery March. He helped register voters during Freedom Summer in 1964 in Mississippi. When he was killed at a gas station in 1966, Sammy was only had been a student. He was murdered during the civil rights movement. Sammy killers walked free for decades while the families of this victim never saw justice, and they cried out for justice. Medgar Evers, James Chaney, Andy Goodman, and Mickey Schreiner, Harry and Harriet Moore, Vola Luzzo, their names, their story, remember their sacrifice. This was my youth. This was our reality. Some people will argue that this is in the past, that we need to forget it. We can never, ever forget what happened to hundreds and thousands of people. Tell them to come and walk in my shoes. Each and every person must remember that slavery was the law of the land for 206 years. For another 100 years, segregation in some form or another in every corner of our country. It is true. In the 50 years since the Civil Rights Movement, we have made progress, but we still have a long way to go. There are forces today in America trying to take us back, but we will not go back. we will build a new and better America. Those who fail to understand this history are doomed to repeat it. For an example, few people know that 7 different American presidents asked Congress to pass an anti-lynching bill. For years, Congress ignored the call, the cry to action. Between 1920 and 1940, the House passed lynching legislation 3 times in a row, but a group of racist Southern senators blocked this necessary piece of legislation every time. This is why the Senate had no choice but to apologize for the failure to end lynching in our nation. Today, public servants at every level of government must have an honest conversation of what we call an executive session with ourselves. Institutions that played a role in historic oppression of African Americans have a mission, an obligation, and a mandate to commit to truth and justice and move toward reconciliation. A few years ago, the nation passed an effort to pay tribute to our Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was my friend, my mentor, my leader, and my inspiration. Dr. King was assassinated, felt like something died in each and every one of us. But being here this evening gives me hope. Give me hope that we will not go back. We will go forward and create the beloved community. We will redeem the soul of America and put an end to racial violence. We all have an obligation, a mission, and a mandate to do what we can. We must speak up for those who have been left out and left behind. We cannot afford to be silent. You know, during the 60s, I was arrested 40 times. And since I've been in Congress, another 5 times. And I'm probably going to get arrested again for something. My philosophy is very simple. When you see something that is not right, not fair, you have a moral obligation to stand up, do something, say something, and get in good trouble, necessary trouble. You must commit every second, every minute, and every day to standing up, speaking up, and doing something to make our country and make our world better. We come too far, we made too much progress, and we're not going back. We're going forward with this museum. Thank you very much.
Please put your hands together for the internationally acclaimed ensemble, Sweet Honey in the Rock.
it's just another sunny day. But by the time the sun goes down, the people will be gathered around. Mother!
When great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder. Lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants lumber after safety. When great trees fall in forests, small things recoil into silence, their senses eroded beyond fear.
When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, sterile. We breathe briefly. Our eyes briefly see with a hurtful clarity. Our memory, suddenly sharpened, gnaws on kind words unsaid, promised walks never taken.
Great souls die, and our reality bound to them takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent upon their nurture, now shrink, wizened. Our minds, formed and informed by their radiance, fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to the unutterable ignorance of dark, cold caves.
And when great souls die, after a period, peace blooms slowly and often irregularly. Space is filled with a kind of electric vibration. Our senses restored, never to be the same again, whisper to us. They existed. They existed. We can be, and be better because they existed.
This is a poem by Dr. Maya Angelou entitled When Great Trees Fall.
just a few years ago, the sister you raped, it was just the other day. The babies you start each and every day of the week. Don't you know that it's nothing, nothing but an echo? Well, good evening. Anybody out there? Yeah, y'all know how to do it. Somebody say good evening, what y'all say back? That's what I like to hear. We are so honored, proud, humbled to be here this evening, and we thank you all for joining in with the Sweet Honey conversation right now. This is a song by Nina Simone that invites everyone into the community who want peace, who have hope, who are looking for love. It's called Come Ye.
Come ye, ye who would have peace. Hear me, what I say now. Yeah. Come ye, ye who would have peace. It's time to learn how to pray. Come ye, ye who have no fear of what tomorrow brings down. Oh no, work together as we should, and fight to stay alive. Come ye, ye who would have love. It's time to take a stand now. Oh, yeah. Don't mind abuse, it must be paid for the love of your fellow man. Come ye, come ye, who would have a home, who would have peace, who
Thank you. Thank you. Our grandmother was known as a prayer warrior. She prayed for her children's 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 children.
Come on.
The idea being when we were born into those prayers of hope, of love, of wanting us to be our very best selves. Prayed for me. They had me on their mind. They took the time to pray for me. I'm so glad they prayed. Yes, I'm glad they prayed. I'm so glad they prayed for me. Oh, somebody prayed for me. Pray. Had me on their mind. You know they took the time to pray for me. Took the time to pray just for me. I'm so glad, so glad. I'm so glad they prayed for me. My mother, she prayed for me. Had me on her mind. Took the time to pray for me. Took the time to pray just for me. I'm just so glad, so glad. I'm so glad she prayed for me. My father got down on his knees. Oh, yeah, on his mind. He took just a little time to pray just for me. I'm so glad, so glad. I'm so glad she prayed. Sing, my people in Montgomery prayed for me. On your mind, took the time to pray just for me. I'm so glad, so glad. I'm so glad you prayed for me. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Yes.
Thank you all once again. We are so honored to be here at this blessed event with all of you beautiful people of like minds and hearts and spirits. And you know, in the words of Ella Baker, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. As long as those who do not believe in freedom for everyone are not resting. We have to stay on the battlefield.
Yeah.
And stay on the battlefield. We shall not bow down to racism. We shall not bow down to injustice. We shall not bow down to exploitation. What's he gonna do? I'm gonna stand. I'm gonna stand. Just can't tolerate no racism. No, I
just can't tolerate injustice. No, I just can't tolerate no exploitation. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? I'm gonna stay. What you gonna do? I'm gonna stay. You gonna stay? I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay.
Yes! Thank you.
Let's give a heartfelt welcome to acclaimed poet, scholar, and president of the Mellon Foundation, Miss Elizabeth Alexander.
A sister friend who was an accomplished singer said to me once, it was not until I had to sing at my mother's funeral that I knew why I had song. It is the privilege of a lifetime to have had the opportunity to find words for this place and occasion, for my people, on behalf of my people, guided by generations, animated by ancestral insight, words made material on that hill in that grove of souls. And the poem is called Invocation. Equal Justice Initiative Lynching Memorial, Montgomery, Alabama, April 2018. The wind brings your names. We will never dissever your names, nor your shadows beneath each branch and tree. The truth comes in on the wind, is carried by water. There is such a thing as the truth. Tell us how you got over. Say, soul, look back in wonder. Your names were never lost. Each name a holy word. The rocks cry out. Cry out, call out each name to sanctify this place. Sounds in human voices, silver or soil, a moan, a sorrow song, a keen, a cackle, harmony, a hymnal handbook chart, a sacred text, a stomp, an exhortation. Ancestors, you will find us still in cages, despised and disciplined. You will find us still misnamed. Here you will find us despite. You will not find us extinct. You will find us here memoried and storied. You will find us here mighty. You will find us here divine. You will find us where you left us, but not as you left us. Here you endure and are luminous. You are not lost to us. The wind carries sorrows, sighs, and shouts. The wind brings everything. Nothing is lost. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. In 1937, a man named Abel Meeropol published a poem titled Bitter Fruit, which was written as a visceral response to Lawrence Beetler's photograph of the 1930 lynching of Thomas Shipp and Abram Smith. Meeropol later turned the poem into a protest song and renamed it Strange Fruit, a song that was famously recorded and performed by Billie Holiday. Last year, Andra Day collaborated with EJI and Google to produce a riveting remake of the song in honor of the Lynching in America interactive digital experience. Yesterday, she filmed a performance of the song within the interior of the new Peace and Justice Memorial, Friends and Family, Miss Andra Day.
Southern trees, bear strange fruit, blood on the leaves, and blood at the root. Black, black, black bodies swinging in the southern breeze. Strange fruit hanging from the poplar tree. Of the gallant South, the bulging eyes and a twisted mouth, scent of magnolia, sweet, sweet and so fresh, than the sudden smell of burning flesh, oh Lord. Here is a fruit for the crows to plow, for the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, for the sun to rise, for the tree to dry. Here is There is a stage I better cry. Such a strange and bitter cry.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Ava Duvernay. So happy to be here with you tonight. Thrilled and grateful and overjoyed to be here with you in my father's birthplace, my father, Murray May, from Lowndes County, Alabama. Anybody here from Lowndes County, Alabama? It's a very specific part of Alabama, but whenever I come home, I feel gratitude to be connected to this place, and even more so today. And I hope that you can join me in just giving I think it should be a standing O for Bryan Stevenson and the beautiful team, the family at Equal Justice Initiative, wherever you are in the back doing work. We just want to thank you, Bryan Stevenson, and every staff member, every team member who's worked so hard to make this happen. We thank you, wherever you are. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So tonight, Equal Justice Initiative has put together this beautiful evening, the synthesis of art and justice, and we wanted to share with you some words by Toni Morrison, instruction and guidance to Black artists. She said, "Free, dedicated artists reveal a singularly important thing, that racism was and is not only a public mark of ignorance, it was and is a monumental fraud. Racism was never the issue. Profit and money always was. The threat was always jobs, land, or money. When you really want to take away, to oppress, to prevent, you have to have a reason for despising your victim. Racism was always a con game that sucked all the strength from the victim. It's the red flag that's danced before the head of a bull. Its purpose is only to distract, to keep the bull's mind away from his power and his energy, to keep it focused on anything but his own business. Its hoped for consequence is to define Black people as a reaction to white presence, as opposed to being in harmony with it. Nobody really thought that Black people were inferior. They only hoped that we would behave that way. They only hoped that Black people would hear it and weep or kill or resign or become ill. They never thought Black people were lazy, ever. Not only because we did all the work, but they certainly hoped that we would never try to fill our ambitions. It's important to know what we're really talking about when we discuss racism, and to know the very serious function of it, which is distraction. It keeps us all from doing our work. It keeps Black people explaining over and over our very reason for being. It may very well be left to artists to grapple with this fact, this distraction, for art focuses on a single grain of rice, on the tree-shaped scar, and the names of people shipped, not only the number. And to the artist, one can only say, please do not be confused. I urge you to be careful, for there is a deadly prison, a prison that is erected when one spends one's life fighting phantoms, concentrating on myths, and explaining over and over your language, your lifestyle, your habits, your very existence. Racial ignorance is a prison from which there is no escape because there are no doors. Those who dwell in racism are in prisons of their own construction. Their ignorance and stunted emotional growth boggles the mind. But the artist knows that we are human, and those who love art know that we are human. If you look at the world as one long, brutal game, you bump into another mystery, and that's the mystery of the tree-shaped scar, because there seems to be something called grace. There seems to be such a thing called beauty, and there is such a thing as harmony, all of which are wholly free and available to us. Our mission is to find it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Toni Morrison. Now, from the world-renowned Alvin Ailey Dance Theater, please welcome the spectacular Ailey 2 performing an excerpt from Revelations, Wade in the Water.
In the
Please welcome anthropologist, physician, and humanitarian Dr. Paul Farmer.
Thank you. There's supposed to be my little speech up there. Are you really going to make me wing it? How come no one else had a technical problem? I think so. I think I can do it. Thank you. I mean, it's just a little intimidating. Should I give up on the... It is an honor. Do you feel bad for me already? It is an honor and a privilege to be here and to see this sacred grove of souls that we saw at the memorial and spend the day at the museum today, and to think about the losses that have preceded us, and to think about the enormous exercise and hard work that the team from EJI has done to make this a reality. And I just want to say that, first of all. Thank you, EJI, and all your partners. The struggle for EJI, now I'm getting into it, has been, I'm a doctor, by the way, a medical professor, but the struggle for EJI is well known to many of us. First of all, many of them are lawyers, lawyers' assistants, researchers. They're focused, as you would hope if you were their client, on the case in front of them. They've saved thousands of people and lessened the harshness of a punitive society, and we have great reason to be grateful for that, all of us. But they have also faced a struggle, and anyone who is a friend of the great Bryan Stevenson knows this. For the last almost 30 years, they have faced the struggle of caring about an individual client while knowing that the system is skewed against black people, brown people, and poor people. Any doctor worth her salt knows exactly the same problem. You're supposed to be focused on the patient in front of you, but you know that poverty and racism and injustice make people sick. Now, what we are celebrating here today and honoring with solemnity is the fact that EJI and its many partners have managed to bridge this world between the call for service to an individual and the call to cure our country. Last night, and you saw it just now, Andra Day's terrifying, harrowing, and beautiful rendition of Strange Fruit. And she said last night, when she was with us, she started a metaphor which I will use here and close, even though my great speech is lost. I'm sorry, Bryan, it was downright Stevensonian. Even though you told me to do this last night. What she said was, she started the metaphor about you really have to open up a wound to the sunlight. And I'll just drive this forward. That's actually my field, infectious disease. Let me put it, finally, let me put it in very stark terms. The treatment for an abscess is drainage. These are not extraordinary measures. That is the treatment. The treatment for our ills as a nation is to acknowledge the history that we have hidden away far too long. Here we are in Montgomery, Alabama. Look outside. The Confederate statuary is still affixed to its plinths, but now we have our own memorial. Thank you, EJI, and thank all of you.
Once again, the Equal Justice Initiative's Executive Director, Mr. Bryan Stevenson.
Thank you. 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 I have been crying all week, and you're not helping me. You're not helping me at all. It is such a wonderful moment for all of us at EJI to be in this space, to welcome you to this incredible week for us. We're so honored that people in this community, people in this country, heard our call to change the landscape, to change the narrative, to do something disruptive to the silence that has condemned so many of us to live with this hatred and bigotry and discrimination that infects all of the places where we go. We are not free in America. We are burdened by a history of racial inequality. It's created a kind of smog in the air. And we breathe it in, and it makes us sick, and we do the things we're supposed to do. And we believe at EJI that we've got to do something about that. Paul's metaphor is a powerful one. We've got to create a treatment. As we had this idea to create a museum, a narrative museum that talks honestly about the legacy of slavery, that talks honestly about the burden of lynching, that talks honestly about the scars created by segregation, that exposes the manifestation of that history in our current system of mass incarceration and over-criminalization. We had this idea that we could maybe lift up something that honors the unnamed victims of terrorism and lynching that continue to shadow this landscape. And we weren't sure we could do it. We weren't even persuaded it was possible. But because we believe things we haven't seen, because we are surrounded by people who lift us up, we are here tonight because this dream has become a reality, and you have made it a reality by your contributions, by your presence, by your prayers, by your support. And more than anything, I just want to thank you for being with us, for supporting us, for making this real. There are some really challenging things when you're trying to do a memorial. You've got to have the right partners, you've got to find the right artists, and I've had the opportunity to acknowledge many of those partners and artists, but the one thing I haven't acknowledged, you can't build a memorial without workers, without women and men who go to a place and put shovels in the soil and take hammers on screws and do the difficult work. And tonight, I want to thank the builders who helped us create these institutions, the construction companies, the subcontractors, the art, all of those people. I want my friends from Doster Construction to stand because you helped us make this memorial real. I want my friends from Russell Construction to stand. I want the Dorsey architect firm to stand. I want all the subcontractors that help us make this to stand. And we want to thank you for your labor because we cannot do justice without labor. Thank you. I also have to thank a loving, supportive, encouraging community right here in Montgomery, Alabama. There are people in this city who encouraged us, who affirmed us, who helped us, who prayed with us, and I want to particularly thank the people who live on Mildred Street, the people who live on Holcomb Street, the people who live on Clayton Street, the people who live on Caroline Street, our neighbors. I want to thank Reverend Kathy McFadden, the pastor of Old Ship Zion AME Church. All of my beloved community neighbors, please stand so we can thank you for being a community that helps us. Old Ship is the oldest African-American church in the state of Alabama. It is the neighbor to the National Memorial for Peace and Justice. And I'm going to probably get in trouble because there are a lot of people here tonight, and it's a wonderful church. It's not that big, but I'm going to get in trouble because on Sunday at 3 o'clock, we're going to have a community remembrance service at Old Ship Zion AME Church. And Reverend McFadden, I'm inviting everybody here to be at church on Sunday at 3 o'clock. I want to do something tonight because we are standing on the shoulders of something remarkable that happened in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955. We should never forget the way the civil rights movement found its legs, found its voice, found its stride here in Montgomery, Alabama. And there's an important story, and I'm so concerned that we not forget this story. We want to tell the story one more time because a lot of people don't know it. And tonight I want us to reflect and think about the...
I can ask, just like a little kitchen office area type thing. I don't know if you can. Yeah. You already put the cards in the camera, I can do that. I'll let you. This one. Now, we can just lock it down on two. Now that Lauren wants to live stream this picture. Add in photograph. Something I don't see that camera anymore.
You don't see this one? All right, yeah.
last fall, was it 382 days. There were a lot of harassing activities. There was a bombing of some churches and even a bomb at Dr. King's. And by this time now, everybody's about to agree with me that it's time to get a lawsuit filed. So while Claudette, we didn't use her case at that time, she was one of the named plaintiffs in Browder versus Gale, which was the case that desegregated the buses, even though Rosa Parks was not in that case. The Montgomery bus boycott took the work of a whole lot of people. These people whose faces never appear on television, you never see them in the media, but they are the ones who made it possible so that many people can enjoy the rights which they enjoy now and don't realize why they are where they are. The matter of destroying segregation was a hard way to go. While we've made some progress, the struggle has not ended. I just left the office a few moments ago, and I'm going back now to finish doing some things that has to be done. So it's an ongoing process.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a supreme honor tonight, for the first time in many, many years, we have the surviving members of Browder versus Gale, Miss Mary Louise Smith-Ware, Claudette Colvin, and Mr. Fred Gray. I just want to say personally to Mr. Fred Gray, who welcomed me when I moved to Montgomery as a young lawyer, who wrapped his arms around me, who taught me, who mentored me, who helped me understand the importance of civil rights, how much we value you, how much we respect you, how much we love you for what you have done for this country. And I want to say to Ms. Colvin and Ms. Ware how incredibly inspired we are that you still stand for justice, and you made the trip here tonight to stand with us to celebrate the importance of keep fighting, of holding on and doing justice. Thank each and every one of you.
Please welcome Emmy Award-winning actress Alfre Woodard.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. And it is good because we are in it, and we are standing in it. For generations, all across these lands, these American lands, frequently, families of Christians, thousands upon thousands of neighbors, excitedly, hysterically gathered, reveled, even picnicked at the heinous spectacle of a swinging body, a ruptured life, a slaughtering of our kinfolk. Some even left with pieces of the human being, trophies from the kill. This week, I came to the sacred space created by the Equal Justice Initiative to keep company with the memory of those who were condemned to this horrific, undignified crossing because their skin was one of the many shades of black and their hair in the many turns of curl. I wanted to have my presence be an active commitment to them that they will never be forgotten and that they will never be alone again. In this generation, I wanted to come and stand with you all, to stand in this glorious gathering, to be our kind of witness, bringing blessings and recognition and healing to the cherished brothers, sons, fathers, uncles, sweet, sweet daughters, and oh my, the many mamas who were ripped from this earth alone and in a fit of terror. I came to this space today with my knee bent and my head bowed, my full heart open. I am so grateful to you, Bryan, for the work that you do in this hour to save us from our collective sin of ritualized murder. It is not surprising that your journey has led you and you have led us to this moment. It was not that long ago, my friends. It was just yesterday, and it will be tomorrow. If we do not commit ourselves to stay watchful in all the days to come for all the new manifestations of racialized terror. Life is good. It must be if the children of those whose names hang in the memorial can say, still, life is good. So it is. They now know that we not only survived, we flourished. It is a good evening, and it is a great day. It's a great day as we take our place in the continuum alongside Sarah Parker Redmond, Frederick Douglass, Angelica Emily Grimke, Ida B. Wells. We take our place in their insisting that Black lives matter. Black lives matter. I intend to live free and to protect your right and your children's right to live free. It is an honor to stand with you.
What do you do when the world says you're through? You're standing in the dark. What do you say when hope fades away and you're left with a broken heart? Where do you find the strength you need to answer the call? Well, the place to begin at the fall. Where do you go when there's nowhere to go? Wondering how you're gonna live. What do you feel when it all seems surreal and there's nothing more to give?